livelihood, spending for your livelihood and trying to make ends meet and so on. So you're busy. During the night, however, the nights are long and they're also cool. So spending some part of the night or perhaps an entire night at the masjid just doing i'tikaf and doing acts of ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is something very good. If you want, you can just spend the time between Maghrib and Isha. You come from Maghrib with the intention of staying on until Isha. And scholars, while there is no authentic hadith about this time of the year, the winter time, there is a weak hadith that is narrated by, or in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, which says that Ashita Rabi al-Mu'min, Ashita Rabi al-Mu'min, Ashita, which means winter, it is the spring for the believer, it is the spring of the believer. So meaning that the springtime is the time when people are perhaps most active out of all of the seasons of the year. So for the believer, Ashita, the winter time, should be the most active in terms of ibadah, doing ibadah. But that's not established as a saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in various ways, scholars have emphasized utilizing the time in the best way possible, anytime, any part of the year in the best way possible. And they talked about the winter time when the nights are long and cold, so doing acts of ibadah during that time will not be tiring. You have enough time to sleep and you have enough time to do extra acts of ibadah during the night. And hadith talks about the last hours or the wee hours of the morning before Fajr. This is the time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down and looks for those. Well, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows when He comes down and He asks the question, who is there that will seek my forgiveness and my mercy and so on and so forth. So if people are awake at that time doing acts of ibadah, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will descend upon them. So the nights of winter being long, being cold, and so on, are perfect for our acts of ibadah, as opposed to the shorter nights in summertime, which are also very hot, many of them very hot, and so uncomfortable, difficult for you to concentrate, maybe you need to sleep and so on. So much more difficult to do acts of ibadah. Also, they talk about the shortness of the days of winter. It's easier to fast because the days are shorter and cold also, so you don't really feel the hunger. So make use of the time that is available to you, and this time is the winter time. So that is one point I wanted to mention, and we'll talk about it more, inshallah, elaborate, emphasize on it, and so on. But the other thing I want to speak about also, again briefly, which I will talk about again in future, inshallah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the opportunity to do so, and that is concerning the adab of the masjid, the respect towards the masjid. We have talked about these matters to some extent, but there are so many aspects of it still to deal with. There's a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu in Sahih Muslim. He says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man sami'a rajulan yanshuru dallatan fil masjid فليقل لا ردها الله عليك فإن المساجد لم تبنى لهذا." If you hear a person seeking, calling out and asking for help, if anybody has seen his lost camel, his lost animal in the masjid, he's talking to people about that and so on. فليقل لا ردها الله عليك. He should say, may Allah not return it to you. Imagine how strong that statement is. May Allah not return it to you. فَإِنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لَمْ تُبْنَ لِهَذَا. The masajid were not built for this purpose. Right? So the worldly affairs, including even looking for your lost property. Of course, if you lose something in the masjid here, it's a different matter. People who see it, of course, no stealing. You take it, announce it that somebody has lost it or something, or you give it to the office, and people who lose something in the masjid, they can go to the office and collect it and so on. So there are things that you can do. But doing other hadith prohibit doing any kind of business. So looking for your lost property in the masjid, or doing business, buying and selling in the masjid. Again, another hadith in relation to this. إذا رأيتم من يبيع أو يبتاع في المسجد. If you see somebody buying or selling in the masjid, فقولوا لا أربح الله تجارتك. May Allah not grant prosperity to your trade. May Allah not make your trade prosperous. So these are again strong words for a person who is buying and selling in the masjid. And we need to show respect to the masjid, the place that we are in. It's a place for ibadah, and therefore we need to treat each other also with respect. We need to treat each other with respect, the way that we interact with each other, the way that we speak to each other and call to each other and so on. It should be done with love and with respect. We are all here brothers, trying to increase our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should encourage one another to do that, and we should therefore interact with each other in a respectful way. The hadith that says, love for your brother what you love for yourself should apply here. Primarily, apply it here, right? We interact with each other, we should do it on that basis. So the way that you want to be treated, that is the way you should treat others also, especially in the masjid setting. This doesn't give you the permission to raise your voice and quarrel and fight with your brothers outside of the masjid. But here it is more haram to do those things, right? More haram, if you can use that term. So when we are here, we should interact with each other on a nice basis, get to know one another, and of course encourage each other in acts of ibadah. So I leave it at that for now. As I said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us another opportunity, we'll talk more about it, inshallah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alamin. Assalamu alaikum.